feeling good, you're feeling
Hi, Room 21 Rockstar families, and welcome to this week's VODCAST. I hope everyone is enjoying this very cool fall weather at home this weekend. We have such a great week coming up. First of all, I want to congratulate Sean Carr for being this week's Rockstar of the Week. Sean has just shown incredible organization in math, in reading, really taking everything that we're learning in class and directly applying it to his work. And I have noticed an incredible grasp of the Barrett Academy Constitution throughout the building. A lot of great compliments from teachers throughout the school. Very proud of you, Sean, this week's Rock Star of the Week. I was sitting down trying to, figure out what I would say for the announcements this week, but we really have a eventless week for once. We are going to have 5 full days of really engaging learning. We have nothing on the calendar. The one thing I would keep in mind coming up next week, not this week, on October 30th, we do have Trunk or Treat, always a great event for all of the families to come out to. That is from 6 to 7 p.m. on the bus ramp. So Trunk or Treat is on October 30th, but this week, Rockstar families, I have to tell you, very, very open, free week. We do have some exciting things going on in the classroom. First of all, on Friday, just have your Rockstar wear their Room 21 Record Rockstar t-shirt on Friday. And on Friday, the winner of Barrett Academy Survivor will be crowned during our Academy time, so we cannot wait for that. The Rockstars have been put through some incredibly grueling challenges the last couple of weeks with our Survivor theme. We really have been working on teamwork to the level that students have to communicate with one another effectively, which is a really tough skill for the scholars to grasp, but they're doing so amazing with it. So make sure you ask your scholar at home, how's everything going with Barrett Academy Survivor? The Red House is currently in the lead, but we have many challenges coming up this Friday, so the race is wide open for the winner of that. And coming up in November, we have an incredible service opportunity that we will begin for Barrett Academy. I'll be talking about that in next week's weekly VODCAST. So for now, I'm going to turn you over to the strategy session, and I'll see you guys on the other end. Okay, Room 21 Rockstars, so today I'm going to start you off with some order of operations work, kind of reviewing and refreshing everything we learned last week with order of operations. Why do mathematicians use the order of operations? Well, because we have to have a certain order to compute numbers, or else every mathematician would get a different answer, which would be a problem. So here I have listed the order of operations, PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, remember, are together, addition and subtraction are together, and they're left to right. So sometimes I draw an arrow like this going from the left to the right. Because, we talked about last week, division could technically be first over multiplication depending on where it's at in the equation. So here I have a sample problem, and let me just bring up my scribbler one more time. Here we have a sample problem and my scribbler's not working, that I'm going to complete here, and then I'm actually going to have some problems for you guys to complete for house points if you would like. So I have 3 times 2 plus 4, open parentheses, 3 divided by 1, close parentheses, minus 1. So following the order of operations, the first thing that it says I need to do is evaluate my parentheses. Okay, so inside of my parentheses, 3 divided by 1, everyone, is 3. Everything else comes down. 3 times 2 plus 4. Now, look right here, if there's a digit pulled right next to a parenthesis, remember that's multiplication, and then I can't forget minus 1. So now I look at my simplified expression. I have no further parentheses. I'm going to cross parentheses out. Then the order of operations tell me I need to evaluate my exponents. Well, I have no exponents in this problem. And then multiplication and division at the same time, left to right. Well, starting at the left, I do have a multiplication problem here. 3 times 2, which is 6. I bring everything else down. Remember, we can only perform one step at a time. Minus 1. Now, I still have multiplication, 4 times 3, so I drop down 6 plus, and then I evaluate 4 times 3, which is 12, and bring down my minus 1. So multiplication is done, division is done. Now we have addition and subtraction. Well, addition, 6 plus 12 is 18, bring down my 1. Even though I know you can do it in your head, rock stars, you have to evaluate it one step at a time, and then subtraction. 18 minus 1 is 17, and you have effectively evaluated this expression if you solved it like that. You should always write PEMDAS next to your expression just to ensure that you are going through the order of operations, okay? And remember, one step at a time, not 2, or else you're going to mess yourself up. Now, I'm going to erase my work right there, and I'm going to scroll down on my screen because I did include for you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 problems that you can complete at home. If you bring in your work, okay, so I need to see work when you bring in, and I need to see one step at a time. Okay, if you do that, you can get yourself 3 house points per problem. Okay, so that would be a total of 18 house points if you complete those, ladies and gentlemen, with all of your work. I want to see PEMDAS written off to the side as well. Very, very important. So now I'm going to flip over to our Class Fusion page. I have a few other areas that you might want to check out for math, guys. If you scroll down to the class news section, under order of operations, obviously I have that interactive game from last week. A lot of you told me last week, Mr. Riker, that was really challenging because I didn't really understand order of operations yet. So now that you have a better grasp of order of operations, this is actually an incredibly fun game. You know, if you choose the knight or the princess, and then you have an expression, and you have to use PEMDAS. So what would I evaluate first? Well, 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12. I'd hit go. Okay, and then it evaluates it. And it actually takes it up, guys. Do you notice how it made it 12? And then what do I evaluate next? Well, 15 divided by 5, which is 3. Hit go. Then I evaluate 2 plus 12, which is 14. Hit go. Then I evaluate 14 plus 3, which is going to give me 17, then hit go. And finally I evaluate 17 minus 3, and I hit 14, not 15, oops. And I hit go, and you correctly solved it. So to the rescue, the knight went up the stairs, and he's able to rescue the princess or somebody out of prison there. As you can see, Prince Edgar, I guess is his name. And it continues to go through. You guys can also earn 3 house points per problem that you solve here, as long as you write down all of your work. I just love this game because it really practices pinpointing what step you're doing first, what step you're doing second, what step you're doing third. Amazing practice at home, guys. So remember, that is right here under order of operations, the first link there. I do have our song up there in case you want to check that out. And finally, I put up a new link this week under more practice. You can earn 1 house point each if you bring in your work for these. These are just simply more expressions where you type in your answer. These expressions are a little easier than the ones that I put just a little bit before and the ones on the interactive game, but if you write them down, you can get yourself 1 house point each. So a ton of order of operations work that you guys can do at home. Amazing way to earn some house points for your house, seeing as how close the house point race is right here, and a good way to master those order of operations. Now, science and reading are kind of together this week, guys. Now, towards the end of the week, I'm going to be posting a science video because next week, probably Monday or Tuesday, we'll have our big test on Earth movements, plate tectonics, rocks and minerals, all of that stuff. So I'll have an interactive study video that you can check out later in the week. But in the meantime, I kind of merged science and social studies together today. So if you check out this link here, it says weathering, erosion, and deposition. Imagine that you are one sediment beginning on the waterfall. Explain your journey to the Atlantic Ocean. Now you might be like, what are you talking about, Mr. Riker? Well, check this site out. So there are these guys who they're called the Virginia Trekkers. You may have learned about them last year. Maybe your teachers used some of that stuff. But they basically go all through Virginia and teach kids all about our state. Okay, well this video is amazing because they go to a place called St. Mary's Falls, okay, which is in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And they go here, but their big objective is talking about weathering and erosion and how that water's going over the rocks on the waterfall and it breaks it down into sediment and it erodes that sediment the whole way to the Atlantic Ocean. So just check out this video first and then I'll see you on the other end.
We're tracking through the state, through the Blue Ridge and the Piedmont and the Bronx Coast. St. Mary's Falls is located in the Blue Ridge Mountains region of Virginia. The Blue Ridge Mountains is the source of many rivers, and this one begins here too. It starts from an underground spring, and it's just a small river called St. Mary's River. Then it flows into the larger South River, and from there it joins the Maury River near Buena Vista and Lexington. Next it flows into the James River near Glasgow, and you know all about the James River. The James River flows through many towns and cities of Virginia, like Lynchburg and the capital of Virginia, Richmond, and from there on into the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. So the water that Frank and I swim in today at St. Mary's Falls will eventually end up in the James River and the Atlantic Ocean.
I'm David. I'm Frank. And this is my son Noah and my daughter Sarah. And this is my daughter Maya. And we're Virginia Trekkers. And we're here today in the Blue Ridge Mountain region of Virginia, right outside the little town of Vesuvius. And today we're going to be hiking along the St. Mary's River, talking about weathering and erosion and enjoying a beautiful day out here. And right at the end, we might talk about a little bit of gravity. So if you're ready to go trekking, let's go trekking. Let's go trekking. Head on out. Look at the scenery behind me. You got a beautiful river, crystal clear. You can count every rock, see every fish. Absolutely beautiful. The Blue Ridge Mountains are the source of many of Virginia's rivers. They start here, they flow all the way across the Piedmont, across the coastal plain, and into the Chesapeake Bay, which dumps into the Atlantic Ocean. One of the important industries in the Blue Ridge Mountains is recreation. So today we're enjoying one of the special activities they do in the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is hiking.
And even though hiking is fun, you do have to be careful. Like Frank sprained his ankle on our last hike, but in spite of the pain, he's still trekking.
There's Frank with his injured ankle. How's it coming, Frank? Way to go, Frank, for pulling through in spite of the other trekkers, Alfonso and Brad, not coming along with us today. Right now I'm standing in a dry rock bed, or river bed. The creek is right behind Dave, who's holding the camera right now. And when it pours rain down here, all the water comes rushing off the mountains and fills up this valley. Because the water has no place to go, it has to make its own path. This is the second time we've done this hike. The first time we came in the summer, and we learned that the trail gets washed out every year. Because of all the water in the springtime coming rushing off the mountains, washes out the trail. So the power of the water needs a place to go, so it cut a hole right through the forest, right down to the other end of the creek. All right, while we were hiking, we came across this amazing example of weathering. You can see right here where the power of the river has cut right through the rock, and you can see where it swirled around and came out right there. And tons of rocks have broken off and fallen right here, and some of them have been ground so fine that it's just like beach sand here at the bottom. So that really shows you how water, the force of water, is so strong it can break up rock.
And here's Dave trying not to cut himself.
Oh, and that's another thing. These rocks are great for making tools because when they break, they're very sharp. The Indians probably might have used these to make tools. All right, check out the size of this rock. And notice that it has a clean cut, a clean face on the side. Our only guess is this thing has fallen from the mountain. There's two ways that it could have done it. And I want you guys to figure out the way. Was it weathering or was it erosion? It's a combination of both. Weathering caused the rock to split, and it was probably ice or water going into the cracks, freezing and expanding, which cracked the rock and made it fall down the mountain. Now, the actual falling down of the mountain, that is erosion, the carrying away of materials. And you guys ready to get going? See you later. Let's go.
Come back! Get
And see those white rocks way, way up there? And the white rocks around me, they fell from the same place. Way out there. All the way down to here.
So what's strong enough to break a rock? Believe it or not, it's water. When it rains, water gets in the crack in the rock. And if the water freezes, it expands and breaks the rock apart.
Look at this long as the rock field was down. These rocks look like this because of weathering. These rocks used to look like that.
Several times on this hike, we've thought we're lost because we lose the trail somehow.
Okay guys, so if you actually want to finish watching that video, I have the link right here. But if you're interested in getting the house points and the little challenge I have for you, I have it explained right here, and it basically says, imagine that you are one sediment beginning on the waterfall, beginning on the top of that mountain that they showed. Okay? You broke off the top of the mountain because of the water and the wind. Explain your journey down that river, through the James River to the Atlantic Ocean. So I want you to use the terms weathering, erosion, sediment, and deposition in your reasoning, and well, basically in your answer. And if you bring this in, this story, be creative with it. You know, it could be factual, or you can make a story, give your sediment a name, all of that stuff. You can get yourself 10 house points. So you can continue watching that video at this link if you want, okay? Or the part that I showed you is just enough to complete that task. Now, another thing you may want to look at, guys, is actually this short film, okay? And if you take, since we're still working on sequencing class for the last week here, check out this video. So watch through the video and simply put the order of the events in sequence. Put it on a sheet of paper, bring it in, and get yourself 5 house points there. Okay, it's a really funny video if you want to check it out. Another great way to practice sequencing. Okay, at this point in the VODCAST, I am going to tell you the secret code for the week, which will get you 5 house points for putting in that amazing effective effort in watching this lengthy VODCAST today. And that secret code is hashtag aliens. And that will make a little bit more sense tomorrow in class, but right now, hashtag aliens is the secret code. Bring it in tomorrow, and tomorrow I would like you to whisper it to me while saying hashtag aliens to get your 5 house points for that. One further thing I want to show you guys. So we've gone through some math. I've showed you some science and reading strategies that you can practice at home. One more thing would be the writing fix of the week. Okay, and last week I showed you the modern Pangea picture. You know, basically the scenario was, well, what happened if the continents suddenly pushed back together like Pangea millions of years ago? Okay, and I asked you to write a lead and a story about that. Well, this week I want you to describe the setting for me. Okay, so choose one area on Pangea where you would like to be. You know, I gave you an example here. I am in Virginia, so right there at that red dot. And I said, standing on the North American portion of Pangea, Virginia Beach is no longer a summertime destination. Driving to this once well-known beach, I will run into the Sahara Desert of Africa. So basically, I want you to, in other words, tell me a story describing the land based on what you know. But once again, be very creative with it. Bring in your writing for 5 house points. But this week, we're really focused on the setting of the story. Okay, guys? That brings us to the end of the strategy session. Now I am going to turn you back over to Mr. Reichard in person. Okay, Room 21 Rockstars, I hope that those strategies were extremely successful. You know, like I told you in the science section of the strategy session, keep an eye open for the Earth movements, plate tectonics, and rocks and minerals study video to be coming very soon. That test will be next week, either Monday or Tuesday of next week. So you'll still have some time to use the video, but I will have it, I hope, published before this next weekend coming up. So keep an eye for that on that. I'll send that out in email. Remember, you can always follow us online on Twitter at Reichard Rock, on YouTube, Mr. Reichard's Rockstars. Check out our Class Fusion page. So many events, announcements, different strategies, things that you can use in the home, updating you on what we're doing each week. All available online. Always check that out. You are the best families in Stafford County with Room 21 Rockstars.